Well, folks, SmackDown sadly kicked off with a very bland and boring segment with Bianca Belair. Now, it's nothing to do with Belair, but obviously they were in her hometown, so she had to come out and basically introduce the show and be like, hello, SmackDown, I've come from here, blah, blah, blah. But the best part of this opener is when, in fact, Naomi, she came on out to a chorus of boos which were deafening as hell, and it was actually really great to see that she was welcoming the boos. It's not like how we've seen Charlotte Flair recently, who is, oh, they're booing me, boo-hoo, stop it, and all that kind of stuff. Naomi was like, yeah, come on, boo me some more. It was great. But now she has basically become the Glenn Close of Fatal Attraction of the WWE. She said that when she came here, she's been looking for Bianca and she wanted to say sorry and she wanted to get her forgiveness. But she went to her parents' house, and because no one was in, she broke into Bianca Belair's parents' house and looked through all the photographs, which, to be honest with you, is actually an insane plot point for WWE. So I think we are going to be getting Glenn Close Fatal Attraction vibes from Naomi going into the rest of this year, I think, because this little feud between these two are not over. But with this, though, we then had Jade Cargill's music hit, and obviously a brawl ensued. But with this, though, it actually led into our first match, which was the women's qualifying match for Money in the Bank. So with this, we actually had Nia Jax make her way down as she was the third person in the qualifying match. The match wasn't too bad, but it was very predictable, which sucks. And sadly, this is not the only match this evening on SmackDown that was predictable. We'll get into a little bit of that later on. But these three, they're all good workers. They've had some absolute amazing matches. But this one, it just seemed, again, run by numbers. We're going to do this, you're going to do that, and then we'll figure out the ending a bit closer to the end of the match, which is exactly what they did, and it just seemed off. A lot of it did on SmackDown tonight, actually. But with this, though, Naomi got the pin and the win, and she is heading to Money in the Bank in the ladder match, which is next weekend, which, to be honest with you, I cannot wait. And I will more than likely be doing my first watch-along for the AAA event when Worlds Collide, because that's in the afternoon for America, but for myself, it's around 8 to 9 p.m. at night. So for me, that's great. So after the qualifying match for Money in the Bank, we had R-Truth taking on JC Mateo. Now this actually came about as earlier in the evening, we actually had Solo, Jacob and JC walking backstage, and they bumped into R-Truth. R-Truth was talking to Little Jimmy, and Solo was like, oh, look at this guy. His childhood hero beat him up, and now he's talking to invisible ghosts. And R-Truth just came out with one of the brilliant lines ever. He goes, I've never seen you a day before in my life, referring to JC Mateo. And then he looked at Solo. Is this your husky son? That was it. You could see Solo was trying so hard not to laugh. And he goes, right, I'm going to try and get a match now with me and you. And he went to Nick Aldis, and they got the match. Sadly, though, Truth got taken out in minutes, man. And Mateo did get the win. But he shouldn't be in squash matches, R-Truth, he should be out there, he should be the hype man, he should be getting wins left, right and centre, to be honest with you. I think the best way for WWE to utilise R-Truth at the start of every show or whatever, come on out, introduce things or whatever, introduce the first match, and if anyone challenges him, he just wins, because he is the greatest of all time, that's what it should be. But then obviously, if he gets beaten, he has to get beaten literally by someone like John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, but then they don't want to have to do it. That sort of thing. And I think that would be absolutely hilarious. But obviously with this, though, it was a squash match, and R-Truth literally lost within seconds of coming into the ring. JC Mateo grabbed him, done a standing moonsault, which was absolutely incredible. But obviously, JC Mateo, big guy, R-Truth, not as big, and he lost. After the R-Truth match, we then had a mass gathering in the ring between the Street Profits, DIY, Fraxium, and the Motor City Machine Guns. Now, with all of this, they were going on regarding last week when the Wyatt Six turned up, and the Street Profits were like the Fraxium. well, if they never turned up, we would have won. We had you dead to rights. You were over. And Fraxium, he was like, well, you didn't win. You never pinned us. Nothing happened. We did not lose to you. If the Wyatt Six didn't get involved, who knows what could have happened? So obviously, with that logic, Motor City Machine Guns come on out, and they were like, well, if this is how we're doing it, you didn't technically beat us or pin us, even though Street Profits won the TLC match. But then you had DIY come out, and obviously they were just like, shut up, you know, no one deserves a title shot. Fraxium were like, no, we deserve to run it back. Our match ended in a no contest because of interruption. Then the lights went out. Lights came back on, and obviously it was the Wyatt Six, and he took everyone out again, and they just stood in the middle of the ring and just looked around. I want to know what's going to happen with this, because we have literally no idea how the Wyatt Six are going to get involved with all of these. It's like, are the Wyatt Six going to win the tag team championships? Are they just going to take everyone out and just not go for belts? It was a very interesting segment, and to be honest with you, I'm actually looking forward to where this is going to lead to. Next on the cards, folks, we actually had Los Garzas versus Javon Evans and Rey Fenix. We also had Ethan Page on commentary for this, which I'm actually really happy to see, because Page is one of my faves, and he has been for a long time now, and I followed him on YouTube for a long time, and it's just nice to see him on the big shows and actually just be able to be here on commentary and to give his insight and his proper heel persona to come across. Obviously, this match was very, very fun to watch, and when you have all these people in the ring, obviously, you know, Los Garzas, you got Rey Fenix, but you also add to the mix Javon Evans. Evans has literally shown the world now with this match alone. This is why I deserve to be on the main roster, and hell of a go he does. He absolutely was amazing in this match. Out of all these people, he stood out the most, which was actually really incredible, especially when you got Rey Fenix in the match. But with this though, it was very exciting to watch. We had obviously the high flying spots, and Evans kind of took over from Rey Fenix for some of the big spots, which was great to see. But obviously with this though, Los Garzas did get the win. But next week, next Saturday, we actually have Rey Fenix, Evans, Ethan Page, and going against, I gotta look down by here folks, the Laredo Kid in a fatal 4-way for the NXT North American Championship at Worlds Collide AAA. I can't wait for that, it's gonna be great. So the next match, which was Alba Fire against Zelina Vega, was actually made earlier in the night. And we had Chelsea Green wearing a face mask because Zelina Vega accidentally broke her nose last week on Saturday night main event. And Nick Aldis was like, well, Chelsea, you're not cleared, you can't compete. And she's like, right, okay then, well, we gotta do something about it. So Nick Aldis, Chelsea's always right. So we got Alba Fire against Zelina Vega. Now with this, it was actually very sad to watch this match because, as we said earlier, there was an instance in the first match with Nia Jax, Jade Cargill, and Naomi, where it was a run by numbers and it was telegraphed. Well, this match was telegraphed even louder, and that is very sad to see because I love all the women involved in this. They are just so great workers. But with this though, it was almost like they were a bit like John Cena calling and shouting for the next spot. And this is what happened in this one for some unknown reason. But with this though, we did get Zelina hitting the code red and getting the win. And over the last couple of months, we have seen this issue quite a bit on SmackDown. And I don't know why it's just SmackDown, where a lot of the wrestlers, they're like calling and shouting for moves, and it's very audible. It's like, guys, if you want to make this look real to people, you know, you want them to be involved, don't just shout out what you're going to do next. Before our men's qualifying match for Money in the Bank, Damian Priest came on out to address that his feud with Drew McIntyre is now over. Well, for the foreseeable future, I think. But with this though, he addressed, you know, quite a lot of people. He addressed Jacob Fatu. He said he respected him, but he doesn't like the people that he is hanging around with. And obviously with this, Priest got a great reception from the crowd. As he was walking back to the Titantron, we obviously had Jacob Fatu come on out. So Jacob Fatu was came out, he looked at him, And it was sort of like, all right, we'll pick this up later. And that's exactly what happened. Then obviously Fatu made his way to the ring, and we actually had his match against Andrade and Carmelo Hayes for Money in the Bank. Now this match, best match of the entire evening. This match was just spectacular in every sense of the word. Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, when we've seen them put on matches against each other, especially their best of a couple of years ago, some of those matches could have been match of the year. And there's so many of them. That's how good these guys connect with each other in the ring. But with this though, Fatu was kind of playing the babyface, which was a very interesting way to look at it. Mostly because obviously he is meant to be part of a heel stable, but everyone loves Jacob Fatu, me included. But with this though, Fatu did take himself out of the match for a little bit, just so Carmelo and Andrade can, well, they can get the fire stoked again and burning, and they can just put on another classic match, which for about 5 or so minutes they put on a great show. But then with this though, we then actually have Sikoa and JC Mateo come on down, who was going to try and help Fatu win the match. Or were they there to try and get him to lose? Because remember now, Solo Sikoa is in the Money in the Bank match. So seeing this, it was almost like, interesting. Does he want to face Fatu in Money in the Bank? Or is he going to make him lose because he's like, right, okay, I don't want to face him, we'll make him lose. But obviously with all of this though, Andrade got the win by pinning Carmelo, and he is going to Money in the Bank. We then went into our final segment of the show, folks, which was John Cena and Cody Rhodes coming face to face. Rhodes came on out first, and he had a bit of a chat with the crowd, which was a nice little, you know, like, oh guys, we've been away, you know, we're back. We have seen this happen. John Cena won, and look what he did to R-Truth and all this kind of stuff, which again is just filler. I will say this though, this segment went on a little bit too long than what it should have been. It went on for like nearly 30 minutes, and it was like, come on guys, you know, we know what's going on. You could say all of this in 10 or so minutes. But obviously with that though, Cody Rhodes then brought out Jey Uso, where the pop was absolutely huge, and it was great to see that everyone was there, everyone was yeeting with him, and everyone was just getting into the vibe of the show. They were talking, but obviously then John Cena came out. John Cena called that these two, they're just imitations, they're John Cena wannabes, which was actually very interesting because we actually had Cena say that about Cody Rhodes in the run-up to WrestleMania. You know, when he said, oh, you were with me, you looked everything, you've taken everything, you're nothing but a John Cena wannabe. And it's like, we've already heard this, you know, come on, give us something fresh. John, you are a master on the mic. But obviously then, John Cena brought out Logan Paul to nothing but boos. And John Cena, you know, he hyped up Logan Paul. He's like, oh, this guy is here, this guy's amazing. He does it better than actual professional wrestlers, which was a slight dig at Logan Paul. It's like, he's not, you know, he's not a professional wrestler, even though he kind of is now because this is what he does. But with all of this, something happened, and John Cena and Logan Paul almost came to blows, which to me now, that's maybe a hint of how the tag match at Money in the Bank could go. Is Cena not going to save Paul? Or is Paul not going to save Cena? Again, there's quite a few things going on with this, which I think will make the tag team match at Money in the Bank a little bit more than just, oh look, we got a high profile tag match. You know, actually give fans something like, oh, this could actually be good. Obviously, the show ended with all four of them brawling. Cena, Logan Paul got taken out. Uso then jumped over the ropes onto Cena, got back in the ring, and as you can see by this image here, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso lifted the belts in solidarity, and this is how the show went off the air. It was a fun and entertaining show this week, I will say that. It had some fun moments, great truth segment, but like we said though, some of the matches were telegraphed too loudly for some unknown reason. And it's almost like, oh, just go out there, go by the numbers, and we'll just call it as it goes. Which can be good sometimes, but it can also take the people out of the experience. Because again, with TV cameras, The microphones this day and age are absolutely incredible. And I don't know why they would have microphones so close to the wrestlers when they're, they're looking at them. Oh, look, we can see them talking. It's like, come on. We've seen it before, but it's a little bit too much when you actually hear him shouting, body slam, sidewalk slam, and all this kind of stuff. It's a little bit like, come on, But overall, though, for me, I will give SmackDown a solid 7.9 out of 10.